Two people sit down for the exact same lunch. Same restaurant, same dish, same portion size. 6 months later, one of them has measurably less belly fat. The other looks exactly the same. They did not eat different food. They did not eat different amounts. They ate differently. The order they put food on their fork. The size of the plate in front of them. What they drank alongside the meal, whether they sat down properly or ate standing up. Those details created entirely different hormonal responses from identical food. Here is the number that stopped me when I first read the research. Eating protein and vegetables before carbohydrates in the same meal produced 37% lower insulin response compared to eating carbohydrates first. Same meal, same calories. 37% less fat storage signal from just changing the order things entered the mouth. Most nutrition advice spends all its energy on what you eat and how much you eat. But how you eat creates a hormonal environment that either amplifies or cancels out everything else you are doing. 7 habits decide which environment you are creating at every single meal. And stay with me because habit number 7 is something people in Okinawa have practiced for thousands of years. Science only recently confirmed why it works, and it might be the single most powerful fat loss habit on this entire list. Before we start, drop a comment right now. Do you usually sit down properly for your meals, or do you eat on the go, standing up, or in front of a screen? I want to know where most people watching this are actually starting from. Here is the biological reality. Most nutrition conversations skip entirely. 2 people can eat the same meal and produce completely different insulin responses. Not because of their genetics, because of how they ate it. The order food arrives in your stomach matters. The speed at which you eat matters. Whether you are sitting or standing matters. The size of the vessel you eat from matters. A study published in Diabetes Care found that food order within a meal produced significantly different glucose and insulin responses, with protein and fiber eaten first reducing the insulin spike by up to 37% compared to carbohydrates eaten first. That 37% difference in insulin is a 37% difference in fat storage signal sent to your belly fat cells after every meal. Multiply that across 3 meals a day for months, and the cumulative effect on visceral fat is substantial. 7 specific habits determine whether you are getting the low insulin version or the high insulin version of every meal you eat. Habit. Number 1. Eating protein and vegetables before carbs in every meal. This is the habit naturally lean people tend to fall into without calling it a strategy. Watch how someone who stays lean without trying moves through a meal. They often eat the protein and vegetables first. Not the bread, not the rice, not the pasta, the meat, the fish, the salad, the cooked vegetables. By the time they reach the carbohydrates on the plate, they have already eaten most of the meal. Here is what that does biologically. When protein and fiber from vegetables enter your stomach first, they slow gastric emptying significantly. The carbohydrates you eat afterward have to pass through that protein and fiber matrix before reaching your small intestine. Glucose enters your bloodstream slowly and steadily instead of rushing in all at once. Your pancreas does not need to spike insulin sharply to handle a sudden glucose flood. The rise is gradual, the fall is gradual, and your body never enters the aggressive storage mode that a sharp insulin spike creates. A study published in Diabetes Care measured this directly. Participants ate identical meals in 2 different orders on separate days. When they ate vegetables and protein first and carbohydrates last, their post-meal glucose was 29% lower, and their insulin response was 37% lower. Same food, same calories, 37% less fat storage signal. The practical application is straightforward. At any meal with a mix of foods, pick up the protein and vegetables first. Finish those before touching the bread, the rice, the pasta, or the potatoes. If you are eating a sandwich, eat the filling separately before eating the bread. If you are eating rice and vegetables, eat all the vegetables and protein before starting the rice. If you are at a restaurant with bread on the table, let it sit until you have eaten most of the main course. You are not eating less food. You are sequencing the same food differently. And that sequence changes the hormonal outcome of the meal. Habit number 2. Eating from large containers without measuring, this is the mistake that modern snacking culture has completely normalized. Picture the evening. You are on the couch, tired from the day, watching something on television. You reach for a bag of chips or a box of crackers. The bag sits beside you on the cushion. Your hand goes in, comes out, goes back in, comes out again. 20 minutes later, the bag is significantly lighter, and you are not entirely sure what just happened. Here is what your brain was doing during that entire time. Your visual system estimates portion size based on what it can see. When food comes from a large container, your brain has no clear signal about how much you have consumed because the reference point keeps changing. A famous series of studies by Brian Wansink at Cornell University demonstrated this directly. People eating from larger containers consistently consumed 45% more food than people eating the same food from smaller containers. Not a little more, 45% more, and critically, they did not report feeling fuller or more satisfied afterward. They simply ate more without awareness or compensation. The fix requires zero willpower or restraint. Before you eat any snack or meal, take the portion you intend to eat and put it on a plate or in a bowl. Put the original container away, ideally out of sight. Eat from the plate. When you want more, you have to make a deliberate decision to get up and get it. That friction is enough for most people to realize they are actually satisfied. You are not restricting yourself. You are just making the unconscious eating conscious. Habit number 3. Using large plates for every meal. This is the habit naturally lean. People often maintain simply because of how they were raised or the culture they grew up in. Many Asian food cultures serve meals across multiple small bowls and dishes. A rice bowl, a small soup bowl, a side dish plate, a main dish plate. The same total amount of food spread across 4 small vessels looks dramatically more abundant than the same food piled on one large plate. Your brain responds to that visual abundance differently. Here is the underlying mechanism. Your brain estimates how much food you have eaten not by tracking calories or weight, but by how full the eating vessel appeared at the start. When you eat from a 12-inch dinner plate, your brain anchors to that large reference point. A portion that would be completely satisfying on a smaller plate looks inadequate on a larger one. You unconsciously eat more to match the visual expectation. Cornell University researchers found that switching from a 12-inch plate to a 10-inch plate reduced food consumption by 22% without participants feeling any less satisfied afterward. 22% less food consumed. Zero reduction in satisfaction, just from the size of the plate. The fix is immediate and costs nothing. Use your salad plates or side plates for your main meals instead of your dinner plates. Use bowls instead of flat plates when possible. The food takes up more of the visual space, and your brain interprets the meal as more substantial. You are not eating less food by feeling deprived. You are eating the right amount of food while feeling like you ate plenty. Habit number 4. Drinking calories alongside meals. This is the mistake that is easiest to overlook because it seems like such a small addition to a meal. A glass of orange juice with breakfast, a sweetened iced tea with lunch, a soda with dinner. Each of these feels like a small accompaniment, not a real part of the meal. But here is what your body sees. Liquid fructose from juice, soda, and sweetened drinks does not activate the stretch receptors in your stomach the way solid food does. Your brain does not register those calories as part of the meal. Ghrelin, your hunger hormone, does not fall after you drink something sweet the way it falls after you eat something solid. So you consume 200 to 300 calories from a sweetened drink and feel exactly as hungry afterward as if you had drunk water. But your pancreas received the full glucose signal. Insulin still spikes to handle the fructose hitting your bloodstream. The fat storage signal fires at full strength. You got all the insulin without any of the satiety. A study in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition confirmed that liquid carbohydrate calories produced measurably less satiety and led to greater food intake at subsequent meals compared to the same calories consumed in solid form. The fix is replacing every sweetened drink during meals with water, plain sparkling water, or unsweetened tea or coffee. Not as a permanent restriction, as the default during meals where you are already eating food. If you want sweetness, eat a piece of whole fruit after the meal. Whole fruit contains fiber that slows fructose absorption and actually activates satiety mechanisms. Fruit juice is just fructose with the fiber removed. Habit number 5. Starting with the main course before vegetables. This is another habit naturally lean people tend to do, often without realizing it connects to fat loss. In many traditional food cultures, a lighter course comes before the main meal. A small salad, a broth-based soup, a plate of simply prepared vegetables. These are not just culinary traditions, they are biological primers. Here is the mechanism. Fiber from vegetables forms a gel-like substance when it contacts the liquid in your stomach. That gel physically lines part of your stomach and small intestine. When the carbohydrates from your main course arrive afterward, they have to pass through and mix with that gel before reaching the absorption sites in your small intestine. The result is slower glucose absorption, a gentler insulin rise, and a lower peak blood sugar from the same main course you would have eaten anyway. Additionally, the fiber and water volume from the starter vegetables activate stretch receptors in your stomach before you even begin the main course. Your brain receives early satiety signals. You need less main course food to feel satisfied. A study published in Appetite Journal found that eating a vegetable salad before the main course reduced total calorie intake at that meal by 11% and improved post-meal satiety scores significantly compared to eating the same foods without the starter course. The fix is as simple as this. Before your main meal, eat some plain vegetables first. Cucumber slices, carrot sticks, a simple green salad with basic dressing, steamed broccoli, any non-starchy vegetable. It does not need to be elaborate. 5 minutes of eating vegetables before the main course primes your digestive system and your satiety, signaling for a lower insulin and lower calorie main meal. Habit number 6. Eating while standing, walking, or not properly seated. This is the habit modern busy culture has completely normalized without anyone questioning what it does biologically. Breakfast eaten while standing at the kitchen counter. Lunch eaten while walking back to the office. A snack eaten standing in front of the open refrigerator. Dinner eaten while standing at the stove, waiting for the next thing to cook. All of these are common. None of them are meals in the biological sense. Here is what your nervous system needs for digestion to work properly. When you sit down, look at your food, and direct your attention to eating, your brain triggers what is called the cephalic phase digestive response. This is a cascade of preparatory signals. Saliva production increases, digestive enzyme secretion ramps up. Your gut motility prepares for incoming food. This response is weak or absent when you are standing and moving because your sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight system, is partially active and digestive preparation competes with the resources being directed toward movement. When the cephalic phase response is weak, digestion is less efficient. Nutrient absorption is reduced, and satiety signals are blunted, meaning you do not feel as full from the same amount of food. A study published in Physiology and Behavior found that eating in a distracted or non-seated state reduced post-meal satiety and led to meaningfully higher food intake at the next meal compared to eating while seated and attentive. You eat the same amount but feel less full, and at the next meal you eat more to compensate. The fix is a decision rather than a technique. Sit down for every eating occasion, however small. No eating at the counter, no eating while walking, no eating in front of the open refrigerator. If you do not have time to sit down and eat, wait until you do. A 10-minute seated snack is more metabolically effective than a 5-minute standing one. Habit number 7. Eating until you are completely full. This is the final habit, and it is the one with the deepest roots in science and human longevity. In Okinawa, one of the places on Earth with the highest concentrations of people living past 100, there is a phrase that guides how people eat. Hara hachi bu. It translates roughly as eat until you are 80% full. Not hungry. Not stuffed. Not even full. 80%. Most people in modern Western food culture eat past full as a matter of habit. Food is on the plate, so they eat it. The food is delicious, so they keep going. They stop only when physically uncomfortable or when the plate is empty. Here's the problem with that approach. Your satiety signal travels from your stomach to your brain via the vagus nerve. That journey takes 15 to 20 minutes from the moment your stomach begins receiving food. By the time you feel genuinely full, you have been overeating for 15 to 20 minutes. What felt like full at the table becomes uncomfortably overfull 20 minutes later on the couch. When you stop at 80% full, the signals already traveling toward your brain arrive 10 to 15 minutes later and bring you to a comfortable, satisfied fullness. You were not undereating. You were timing your stop correctly for where your satiety signal would land. The biological consequences extend beyond just calorie intake. People who consistently practice hara hachi bu show lower insulin levels, lower inflammatory markers, and lower BMI over time compared to populations that eat to fullness, according to research published in the Journal of the American Dietetic Association. Less food per meal means less total insulin load. Less total insulin load means more time in fat-burning mode between meals. The fix requires practice, but not willpower in the traditional sense. Eat slowly enough that you can actually track how you feel as the meal progresses. When you notice the edge of hunger beginning to soften, when food starts tasting slightly less compelling than it did at the first bite, that is your 80% signal. Stop there. Not because you have to, because the signal you are feeling right now is going to become comfortable fullness in 15 minutes. Here is the complete picture of 7 eating habits that change what every meal does to your belly fat. Habit 1. What lean people do naturally. Protein and vegetables before carbs reduces insulin response by 37% from the same meal. Habit 2. The common mistake. Eating from large containers produces 45% more consumption without awareness or additional satisfaction. Habit 3. What lean people do naturally. Smaller plates reduce food intake by 22% without reducing feelings of satisfaction. Habit 4. The common mistake. Liquid calories from sweetened drinks create full insulin spikes without any satiety to match. Habit 5. What lean people do naturally. Vegetables before the main course slows glucose absorption and activates early satiety signals. Habit 6. The common mistake. Eating while standing or distracted reduces satiety hormones and increases intake at the next meal. Habit 7. What lean people do naturally. Stopping at 80% full aligns your stop with where your satiety signal will actually land 15 minutes later. Here is what I want you to understand before this ends. Not one of these 7 habits asks you to eat less food. Not one asks you to give up something you enjoy. Not one requires counting, measuring, or tracking anything. They just ask you to eat the same food you are already eating in a way that creates a different hormonal response. Lean people are not suffering through meals. They are not white-knuckling past dessert. They are just eating in a way that works with their biology instead of against it. And most of them never had to learn it. It just became how they ate. Now you know what that looks like. Try one of these habits at your next meal. Just one. Come back and tell me which one surprised you most and what you noticed. Drop it in the comments below. I read every single one. If this changed how you think about the relationship between how you eat and your belly fat, subscribe to What Science Reveals. Real science explained clearly every single week. And if you want to see how these eating habits connect to everything we covered in the morning habits and lunch habits videos, those videos are right here. All 3 work together as one complete system. See you in the next one.